T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis on a mission to build, resupply, and to do research on the International Space Station.
Houston now controlling. Atlantis begins its penultimate journey to shore up the International Space Station. Atlantis now in the proper alignment for its 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Outpost. 30 seconds into the flight. Atlantis almost 2 miles in altitude, almost 6 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space.
Hi, good morning, everyone in YouTube, Facebook, Spotify as well. The people that is doing right now and the ones that who are going to see this interview in the future. We have a special coffee today. We have one sensei, one lean sensei, one person that I admire so much and a big fan of him. And he has more than 30 years working on both part of organizational change. The hard part, when you have to improve the quality, reduce the lead time, eliminate the waste, and also the soft part in the way that you have to engage people to problem solving and go to the highest potential. This sensei is Michael Balle. Michael has co-founded the Project Lean Enterprise in France and the Institute Lean in France. Also, he is a co-author of books like The Gold Mine, Lean Manager, Lead with Respect, Lean Strategy, and now he is launching a new book, Raise the Bar. So let's welcome Michael Balle. Today we are in Paris. So Michael, thanks again for this interview. This is my favorite word, so you will have heard a lot. How are you, Michael?
Very good. And you?
I'm happy. I'm happy right now, and it's a pleasure, an honor to be here with you. And you have a phrase in your profile that say that the question we ask define our reality. And I would like to start this interview. You have more than 40 years of experience doing lean, and maybe you will have too many questions in this journey. I would like that you give us three questions that have defined the reality in which live Michael.
Interesting one. I wish I had prepared for this. The first question is, nobody contests the results from lean. Nobody contests the results from them. Why do so few people want to do it? Lean is clearly the only viable method to deal with complex problems. And we have many complex problems with the planet right now, the economies, all these things. So lean is a proven method. It's been proven for many years, and nobody debates that. But why so few people do it? The second question is, why are people so fond of rituals that don't pay? So whenever you teach lean, many people will turn it into a ritual that doesn't pay, but they do it as a ritual, and they love their ritual, whatever the consequences. And that's always very puzzling. Yeah, why would they want to do that? But that's been happening for a long time, I think. And the question that really defines my 30 years is that you never know lean, you always learn lean. So it's always the same question. What the hell is this lean thing? You know, what is it? And to me, it's a very specific question. I believe that Lean is applying TPS outside of Toyota. So we have two questions in there. It's like, what did Toyota do with this? What did they invent? Because it's not something we understand easily. And how does it apply when you take it out of context, when you put it in hospitals or service businesses? How do you transfer? So that would be the three. Top of my head, I haven't thought this. You surprised me with the question. I haven't thought this through, but top of my head, the first question is, knowing the results in Lean, this is the one way that is certain to get us out of our trouble. Why do so few people try? Second thing is, why do, when they try, they narrow down on the rituals and forget the outcomes? And the structural one is, what is TPS inside of Toyota, and how does it apply outside of Toyota?
Okay, perfect. All the questions are not prepared, Michael. They just emerge
No, it's
as
not my mind. Well, there's a fourth question, which is which I understand better. So it's not so much a question, but might be interesting for you. Is when you show anything to people, they see the product, they see the machines that make the product, and they never see the people. So it's not a question. This is something I'm used to. But it would be a question, why are managers so completely blind to people? And we do here in France, we do conversations around videos on YouTube to see virtual gembas. So basically, we take people through videos and they look at the video, what do you see? And they see the machines and they see the products. They just don't see the people.
yeah.
So that's another very structuring question about Lean. It's like, why are people so blind about people?
Yeah. When the people is the one that made the things happens. I want to take the second question that you asked about the rituals. Normally, when you are building a meaning for a company or a meaning for a person, you have that define the organization. In all the experience that you have, what are that rituals that keep it with the outcome?
I don't believe in rituals. I believe in thinking deeply. People are crazy about rituals. That's what they want. Rituals depend on the situation. And a key thing to understand, so let's step back. A machine is a machine, so it needs ritual because it's mechanistic. A human needs ritual for social reasons. So humans habituate. So you give an exercise to somebody and they get used to it. So at first they use it, then they learn something from it, then they get used to it. And it doesn't mean anything, but then they still hold on to it. So you put in rituals to learn, and then you break rituals to learn. You put in rituals to learn, and then you have to break the rituals. Because with human beings, the rituals, once they become automatic in people's minds, then people no longer think. So a ritual is useful when it makes you think. It's not the ritual that is useful, it's the thinking. If you're used to the ritual, it no longer makes you think. Let's take an interesting ritual like washing your teeth. Washing your teeth is interesting if you actually have a timer that makes it longer than you would do it normally. Because then you get bored and you start asking yourself, am I washing my teeth correctly? Now that's interesting. Just telling your kids to wash their teeth, they wash their teeth very badly. They don't think. So you have to understand the ritual. How does the ritual get people to think?
Perfect. Yeah, because something that we work in our company, maybe we don't call it ritual, maybe we call it like habits or like routines. But for example, one habit that we are always looking for is to be on the gemba, yeah, to be on the gemba to help people, digamos, learn and learn a problem solving way. So that's some of the habit that we are like
But
developing. Yeah.
if you do it as a habit, it's going to fail. It can be an
Okay.
attitude that you want to go to the Gemba, and you want to go to the Gemba for a very specific reason, because you want to get people to agree on the problem, and you want to see and learn things. It's an attitude. If you do it as a habit, you will just go to the Gemba and fail. It's become a meaningless ritual. And it's very interesting to see. It's like standardized work. Standardized work is the beginning of thinking. It's the first thing you need to know to understand what the work is, but it's the beginning. So it's fascinating to me to see how people actually want to have habits, so they don't think. When they don't think, they don't learn, and they just repeat absolutely mindless things for a long time, and they have no results. And they say, "Oh well, it's just this that doesn't, globally doesn't work." No, it's you're doing something mindlessly. Of course, it's that. Of course, you won't have results.
Perfect. Yeah. I get it. It's I like the thing that you say right now. Is not an habit. It's an attitude.
It's an attitude. So you decide that whatever. I learned with my father, and I remember when we were working together, people would take us to the meeting room and start telling him things, and he said, "Okay, let's go and see." He would set up and just walk out. It's an attitude. It was not a habit. It's an attitude. Now, when we go down to the Gemba, it was never what they were telling him in the meeting room. It was always something else. It's like when you looked at it and say, "Why you?" So again, that's very interesting. Why would people discuss for so long something that is simply not true? But that happens all the time. But the moment you want to make it a habit, you're making it meaningless, and it's even worse when you set up a ritual for all people in the company. So it's a starting point. Sometimes when they don't know anything, you have to do it, but you have to be very careful. You have to break the ritual. The aim, when the finger points at the moon, it's the moon you should look at, not the finger. The aim is to think, and to think more deeply. It's not to follow a ritual.
Okay. And the other thing that you say now is that the management, they are used to be so blind about the people. They see maybe the product and the machine that made the product, but forget the people. Why do you think that happens in all the culture? Because I think it's the same in Latin, in Europe, in America, in Asia.
In the latest book, was Raise the Bar. We have, I don't know if I can see it, but we have, this is written really, it's the point of view of leaders who created a huge company out of just a phone and a table. They started selling cars on the internet in a studio, and now they have a company that is, I think it's over 1 billion in turnover. So it's a huge success. But there is an interesting part where we set a sheet of paper, I can't find it now, with their objectives. So we drew 2 columns. What are their objectives? And they had all their business objectives they wanted. Then I asked the second column, what are your people development objectives? And it was empty. So people are obsessed with things, and they think process is a solution. And one of the lessons these guys learn is that the process is always the problem. The people are the solution, because the people can think. Why that is, I think because we're people ourselves. So because we're people, we don't understand people. It's difficult. It's emotional. When something's not right and you want to discuss it, it's always a problem, because the other person will feel aggressed.
Yeah.
Even if you don't mean to aggress them, you say this is something not right. Okay, it should be right. I'm having the problem currently when I'm translating the book. The translation, reading in French, it's not right. So the meaning is okay, but the French is terrible. I need to be able to address it with the guy who's doing the translation. But I know he's going to be difficult about this. He's going to feel aggressed, and he's going to give pushback. Yeah, no, it's good, blah, 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 blah. And he's going to get emotional. So clearly, I don't want to do that. So it's better not. It's easier not to talk to people, not to consider, and just consider the process and automate it, so you don't have to deal with any of that. So we need to learn to face our fears of dealing with people, to accept that they're going to react in whatever way they're going to react, and then and deal with it.
There is something, when you do lean, you have full of emotion. Maybe at the beginning, you want to do it, you are in chaos. At the end, you feel that you have a full of emotion. And when I read the books, I see that of the lean change, does not have like too many leisure, too many comments, too many experience.
Here's the emotion. I want to remain in control. That's what I know. Then you do lean, and lean is about facing what you don't know. So there's a gap. Things don't work out the way you want them. So your ego gets in the way, attacked. Yeah, normal. So people react emotionally. They feel insecure. They feel aggressed. They feel whatever they feel. And you have to get over this. You have to take it easy. Okay, so they're reacting emotionally. They'll come, they go up and they'll come down. It's fine. But sometimes they go up. You go up because they're being a pain, and it goes up. So this is why lean teamwork is so important. Trust is so important. You need not have emotions. If we go into tough subjects, you will have emotions. So you need to trust people that it's okay to have the emotions and wait for them to come down. So there's a pendulum that goes like this. When you control an environment, there's always a tendency to want to control it more. Back to the habits. Now, if you have a control ritual, now you want it to be a habit. So it's completely controlled. And when you don't control something at all, there's a tendency to want not to deal with it at all. You say, oh, I don't control this. I don't control the weather, so I won't worry about it at all, right? Now, the trick to having humans at their best is not swinging the pendulum harder. It's being there in the middle. So once you see there's a ritual in control, don't bother about it. Don't control more. Break it. Make something spontaneous in it. Bring them back in. When they see they don't control at all, and then you need to bring it back into control. So you have to understand this is people, and every time you get them to change this in the pendulum, they will react emotionally. So yeah, deal with it.
Yeah, I love the topic, because something that
There is something in lean that is called Hansei. Hansei is self-reflection. But Hansei, you can only self-reflect. You can only learn if you recognize you've done a mistake. Now, that's a very simple sentence. But in practice, again, that's very complicated. Because first you will have to show somebody they've done a mistake, they've made a mistake. Then they have to recognize that, yes, they have made a mistake. And that is the starting point to figuring out. So we have to get people there. And that is, so when you have teamwork, when you know people for years, we can laugh about it. It's okay. It's cool. Then they make a bad mistake, and then again, ooh, they're tense. But when it's people you don't know, at first it's difficult because they get so upset about the mistakes. So because it's emotional, their emotions are about them, but their emotions will project on you. So you need to be able to just take it, you let it wash over, so they will be upset. In fact, you have to know that they're yelling at you, but they're upset with themselves.
Yeah,
So,
no, and I think it's a process to change. In your experience, you say that a key point is to build trust. Yeah, and if you are starting with a team that does not have experience with lean, does not have experience with how have you built trust in other experience to people that maybe say no, lean doesn't work, or lean does not have the quick result that I wanted.
it's always messy. The first thing you look for people that are okay. People ask me in my one of my books, The Goal Mind, it's like a novel, and people ask me, why is there so much conflict? And I say, there's no conflict. At some point, there's conflict. So here's how it works. You meet Fabian, and Fabian is fine. So you discuss, and he said, yeah, sure, I'll try this, blah, blah, blah. No problem. Then you meet Roberto. Roberto's fine. And then you meet Enrique, and Enrique says, oh, no, never, no. So you have to find, you work with the people who are willing to work with you. And there are people who are not willing to work with you. You just move on. And then you give them time to decide whether they will join it or whether they will really become a problem. There are some people you can't trust because they don't want to do it. And it's a free world. So to get there, the first part is you look for people who are willingly, voluntarily participating. Then once you have these people, you start building some things, and then others join. Then others pretend to join, and then it becomes complicated. But really, so trust is a long-term. You build it up from experience. So how you build trust, you face problems together. So when people have faced really difficult problems together, they have war stories, they have experience together, then there's trust. Because the trust is knowing how the person is going to react. It's not trust, I can't trust you with anything. That doesn't make any sense. Trust is, if I trust you, if I know how you react. When you react one way, in sometimes in another way, in other times, it's difficult to trust you because I don't know where you are. So once you've actually solved many problems with somebody, you trust them because you know that they're not perfect, they're human, that's fine, but you know how they're going to react. So you can trust that reaction.
Yeah, these are a nice definition of trust. You told us right now that you have launched a new book, and here I just want to share the book,
Yes.
Raise the Bar, and that was the title always, or there was another version of the title, because I like too much Raise the Bar, like
Yeah, raise the bar.
looking ahead of this title.
I don't know what you mean, but yes, raise the bar. The idea is it's a quality. It's you always raise the bar on quality, and you always raise the bar on customer expectations. And because it's a story of going from 0 to 1 billion to the company is even bigger now, but it's how growth happens through crisis. There's no growth without crisis, and it's interesting to see. It's a book about how you react in the crisis, so that in the crisis you don't backslide, you don't fall back, but you actually raise the bar, and this is how you build a sustainable growth. So this is the experience you see here. Nicolas Chartier and Guillaume Paoli, who are the founders of the company, and myself and Regis work there as sensei, and this is our joint experience about how we deal with this crisis. And in order to raise the bar.
Okay, perfect. And you put in the subtitle 0 to 1 billion, but there is something that is particular, that is combining lean and digital.
Oh, it's a digital company. They sell cars on the internet. So a huge part of the company is the website and all the digital processes. Yeah. So compared to older companies that have to digitalize, this was a digital native company from the start. So this is why it's interesting, because it's not very frequent that we see digital companies that actually do.
Yeah, and right now there is a boom of startups, especially here in, and for those that maybe are starting an startup and digital business, this book, what can offer to these people that are building his startups?
Well, the world just changed for startups, because it used to be, money used to be free. So when Nicolas and Guillaume started, they started just after the 2001 internet crisis. And then they went through 2008. So they have experience. So they understood that that growth had to be built on profitability. It had to be profitable growth. It was harder. Many startups built after 2008, they say, okay, as long as you do fast growth, don't worry about profitability. We'll have this later. But this has just changed.
Yeah.
Because money is now expensive. Valuations have completely crumbled. So we're back into crisis mode. So really the lesson of this book is how do you scale up and remain profitable, so that you don't just burn money, burn cash. And this is really what this book is about, is understanding how do you combine scaling up what you do, your operations, because it's easy when you're a startup, when you're small, but when you start having thousands of customers, everything becomes complicated. So this is the topic of the book. And to do so while staying profitable.
I think it's perfect for the time that we are living right now, because we are in a global crisis due to that, like the cash burn that we have made, like from the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, the cash burn has been incredible.
Yeah. I think it's perfect. So I will encourage too many people to read here in Colombia and Latin. And we are right now having a change of mindset in too many companies, because they were focused maybe in growing, and now it's growing but with profit. Here in the company that I work for, we have a mantra that we say, let's grow fit our
Growth.
because
Yeah, I like
growth
it.
it. Yeah. That's our mantra because we were focused just in growing, but now I'm being profitable as well. What are the main obstacles to do both parts at the same time?
MBA.
MBA.
How many MBAs you have in the company? MBAs, they think, yeah, well, you can't do anything with MBAs. There is a study that shows that, there is a global problem that we have in every country, is that the gap between the wealthy and the middle class, actually, not the poor, but the middle class, is growing. And there's a study that shows that in companies that have more MBAs, it's worse than others. Because when you have MBAs executives, when times are good, they don't increase the wages. And when times are bad, they reduce the wages. So MBAs are convinced that you can control growth and profitability through short-term financial decisions. This is what they learn when they're from 20 to 30 in business school, in the MBA programs. This is what is taught. And it's simply not true. It's always a disaster. Companies like General Electric are, the guy who's Larry Copeland is now trying to save it, but Jack Welch, it was Enron. We knew it at the time. Because what all this does is to hide the lack of profitability in debt and then refinance the debt. It's a con. So when you have MBAs in power, it's very difficult because their argument, this is what I've seen, the argument always seems rational on paper because it's numbers. But the decision is completely irrational. Completely irrational. They buy, they sell, they do stuff completely irrational. The alternative is, of course, lean, which says, okay, if you actually want to grow the company profitably, you need to grow the people. The people have to know what they do. And the thing about growing people, it's not making robots. It's growing people that can deal with change in circumstances. It's growing their judgment. It's growing their experience, because things out there will change all the time. And we'll be okay if we have people who can handle new circumstances. So MBA thinking is always exploiting. You put in a process to extract everything you can, squeeze it until it's dry, and then do it somewhere else. That's what they're taught. So in good times, they make money, not anybody else. In bad times, they destroy the company. And it happens every day. So now that we're in bad times again, we will see MBAs destroying the company systematically. They will start by cutting the innovation. Then they will cut the education. Then they will cut maintenance. Then they will reduce footprint. No, the fascinating thing is I've done many lean turnovers. So you turn over the company operationally, and that's not that hard. You just find the people to work with. People can grow, and people will always surprise you. They do extraordinary things. But while you do this, let's say it takes, you have results right away, but to really see it, it will take 1 to 2 years. It's actually quite fast. There's another meeting. The other meeting is, what can we do for senior executives only? What can we do to increase the share price now? And that meeting is only about footprint. Okay, what plant can we close? What activity can we stop? So this is what happens in every company I know, is there are the two things going on. There's the people doing lean operationally, and it always works. And there's the other meeting that always wins. So the obstacle, there's no obstacle to lean. There's a normal, as we discussed earlier, there's a normal difficulty of lean. It's hard. You have to find people who are growth mindset, who are willing to learn. You get around people who are not. It's okay. You don't do anything to them. You try to convince them, or you get around them. All of this is part of lean. The real obstacle is the second meeting. The real obstacle is the MBA trained managers who say, yeah, I don't care. Hit that number. Or, yeah, whatever results you have, I don't care. Close the plan. Outsource.
Yeah, and I see that the problem is that maybe we are looking for a short result, like in the short time, because you have a share price and you have to take care of the capital market of the company, and maybe the value of the CEO is the value of the company. So
in the 1960s, when you had pension funds and then you had hedge funds. The hedge funds try to convince the CEOs that the value of the company was the value of the shareholder. It's actually not true. Legally, shareholders don't own the company. That's the point. They own shares. There's a legal separation. That's the point of the system. The only people who are responsible for the company are the executive board. The shareholders just own shares. That's the whole point of having shares. Yeah. But in the 70s, they started saying, no, it's all about us. So they went to CEOs and they said, the only thing that matters is the share price. And CEOs said, oh, that's ridiculous. Don't you know how to run a company? A company is a complex thing. It's about people, it's about machine, it's about knowledge, it's about what we know technically, it's about the environment, it's about the community, it's about all these complex things. So then the hedge funds thought about it and said, okay, we'll give you a different deal. If you increase the share price, we'll increase your bonuses by 400%. That's what they did. And you look at it, it happened in the 80s, that even the CEOs, for instance, my dad never was a generation, he was a CEO before that. He never got into those money times. But we saw it happen. Suddenly you had a new generation of CEOs where the focus was on the share price because the pay increases were indexed on the share price, and there were crazy increases. The compensation just was multiplied by twice, 3 times, 4 times. It got crazy. So that's where we are now. So what we have now is we have executives who are incentivized on the share price in order to drive short-term action. Now, what you have to understand is that the market doesn't care about the health of one company. The market is about creative destruction. The market theory is if your company just goes bust, it should create other room for other companies, so the market always wins. It's actually not true. Your company employs people, it disrupts their lives, we lose expertise, we lose technology, we lose experience every time that happens. But you have to understand the point of view of the shareholders. The shareholders think that as long as they sell at the right time and they buy the new companies, they're okay. They don't have to have any interest in your company because to them it's all numbers.
Do that we like a change in this mindset from the hedge fund, maybe not focus just on number, but maybe focus on the capabilities that that company are building to keep sustainable through the time?
No, I have no idea. I don't have. Watch. Where's my crystal ball? I have no idea. What I know is that to see the opportunity. What this gives us is exactly like, again, it's exactly what Nicolas and Guillaume are doing. It's the opportunity to do things differently. And it's not at all to be adversary with the shareholders, is to make a deal. Listen, guys, we're going to give you the money you want and the stability, but let us do it the way we do it, through the people. And for instance, when you're in a company that's been doing lean for several years, you see it because as you grow, you hire people from the outside that come in with this MBA mentality, and it's really difficult for them because we try to explain that no, that's not how we do it here. Yes, I know that how we do it here is lean and it looks crazy, but it actually works. So please, change your mind. And some do, some don't. Again, back to, as we say, trust, which is difficult. But so I have no idea whether mentality was changed. I think that, listen, think about it. South America. Historically, there never was worse exploitation than from the Spanish.
Yeah.
It was exploitation to a degree that I don't think the world has ever seen. It destroyed entire cultures. Then the whole south of the Americas, then the encomiendas and plantations. This is where our accounting comes from. All our accounting practices comes from slave plantations. Because you hold the people, you have productivity. Now, what Frederick Taylor did in the late, it never happened in the North because people would leave. So you couldn't exploit them that much because in northern America, they would go west, like in the Western, so they change companies or whatever, which is happening now with the Great Resignation. You can't exploit people when they leave. But what happened at the end of the 19th century is Frederick Taylor took the techniques from the plantations that were published, were in books, and he applied them to industrial work. So a lot of the things that we've learned in school about industrial is really about exploiting people. It works, but at a terrible price. What lean is so interesting is that when Sakishi Toyoda started the Toyota company, before it was a Toyota company, the grandfather, he read a different book. He didn't read Taylor. He read a book by Samuel Smiles about self-help. He surrounded himself with people who wanted to learn. It's a completely different mindset. And it was about trust and growing mindset and surrounding people who learn, and they will face any difficulties. Now, at the time, of course, in the 1930s, Harvard business theory was cooperation. It's different times. And things changed after everything that they did during the war, Allied Command, Europe, all these things, Marshall Plan was built on cooperation. Now, in the 60s, when they were so dominant, they turned to exploitation, and this is where we're now. So we have the opportunity, if we make the effort to learn, to build different kinds of companies. And we need this opportunity because this is the only way I see that we're going to solve environmental problems. Environmental problems, there's no silver bullet. We understand the problem. It's many, 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 many different problems. So you need cooperation, and you need voluntary participation, and you need people doing lots of local action to attack the problem. This is what Lean knows how to do. But we need to convince the MBA. And the conversation you're having like this, there's a pressure from people that we want to be more responsible. And the others are answering, yeah, but what does it do to the share price? And say, look, the planet is burning. Who cares about the share price? But this is the conversation we're in now. So I have no idea how this is going to turn out. Historically, things rarely turn out the way we think. But I think this is, for us, an opportunity to find a third way to do it different. We don't have to throw away capitalism. We have to use it in a people-centric way that actually solves problems.
Yeah, you know, I have a in my mindset like 6 years ago, because when I started working, my focus was like in the numbers. I was trained by McKinsey, and I was,
you know something about exploitation, yeah?
yeah, and I know, and 6 years ago, a person from Chile hired me to build a new continuous improvement model for the company, and he said, Fabian, please focus on the number, focus the people that will make change, and just give me like to be with all the people in different, and say to my wife, they are paying to me just to converse and to have talk with people. Nice. And I didn't understand what he wanted to teach me in that moment, but after I think 4 months, I see that the real results can when people, and I made the change, because also I changed from McKinsey to Lean. So I started working with Lean Institute Chile, Brazil, and I see a different way. I think this is the way to make people. And at the end, I think people, I think the company are making and when you have like
hopefully, yeah. But the big change in mindset that is very difficult is that we naturally think, and back to the NBA thinking, we naturally think, let's make this action to achieve this objective. This is how conversations happen. Let's do this, and then it will achieve this objective. And say, why should it? The big change is thinking Lean. It's let's solve this problem and try this countermeasure. And you can listen to it all the time. Even people who do Lean, they still talk about, let's do this, and this will be achieved. And you go, what? But this is the normal mindset that we grew up with. If I do this, something good will happen. Maybe, maybe not. But the big change that we learned from Toyota is say, okay, let's understand this problem and let's try a countermeasure. Not a solution, a countermeasure. And let's build from this. And even in daily life, when you talk about things at work, you hear people who switch. They start talking about problem countermeasures. And you hear people who still think, oh, this is what I want to do. Say, why do you want to do that? Because it will give me this. And you say, how do you know that? So this is the hardest thing, is to change the way we look at it. And we're back to what we discussed earlier. That's an attitude. The attitude is really problems first. It's not just we talk about problems first. No, we're humans. We talk about anything. But when we get serious, we learn, say, hey, what's the problem here we're trying to solve? As opposed to, hey, what's the thing we want to do?
Yeah. This leader that I have, he said that problems are precious, and always says, Fabian, problem is precious, and you will always have a problem. When you have a company, always have a problem. You have to select what problem is really important to get the result, but also to develop people.
To develop people, exactly. And this is suddenly you look at it differently. You say, okay, people are autonomous. This guy, Fabian, he knows how to solve this kind of problem, but this he needs to learn. So I will give him a problem. And at least at first, Fabian said, no, I don't want to take care of this problem. This is not my problem. You didn't hire me for this. I know how to do this. And you say, please learn to solve that problem, because this is how you develop people. Because when it stretches you out of what you already know. And in order to solve this next problem, you have to change your mind about things. So again, and some people actually like it and play the game. And you have to be cool with their emotions. You understand that when you ask them to solve a problem they don't know how to solve, their emotions are going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. I can never solve this. It's too hard for me. Oh my God, look at this. I've got it. Oh no, it doesn't work. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you have to be cool with this. And some people will say, no, I just won't go there. And it's true. And some people refuse to go to this problem.
I don't know if you have worked with Latin American people, but you see like a different profile of leader in Europe and in Latin about that point of about just maybe looking at the problem and not looking at the person who makes the problem.
I think culture is very important in communication. I think culture is very important in food. I think that I've seen people who are determined to solve a problem together and to work together with I remember it was in Asia, with very little bad English, and still they communicate. And I see people who don't want to talk to each other. And then everything is a problem because they throw culture at it. You can't talk to me like this. You can't say this in this country. You don't understand. Here it's not like this, and so forth. So my experience is that cultural misunderstandings are huge, and they're real. I don't take them like again, but again, it's attitude. You want to work with them, you'll solve them. It will sort itself out. And I've seen people do incredible things across cultures. You don't want to work with them, then culture is a problem every step of the way because they don't want to work with you. So they take any opportunity to have a misunderstanding.
Yeah. And we are just 10 minutes to end this interview. The time goes very fast. And something that I really like too much are the museums. So here and invite you to the Louvre. And I like the museum because they have history, and I like to learn about the lesson.
I have a personal story about the Louvre. I was a student when they did it, the new Louvre, and I did a student study with the architects and paid for them. And they took me, it was like in the Fellini Roma movie, they took me down, they were opening up and they had discovered the old castle that is underneath, the medieval castle. So we opened this iron door, you know, like in Indiana Jones, you open the iron door and they switched on, they had these big lights like in the movies, you know, the lights that you switch like this, you know, the big lights.
Yeah.
They had all these spots and they were uncovering the medieval castle that is underneath this building now there. So it was extraordinary. They were building, it's before building the pyramid, they were building the pyramid at the time.
Okay. No, nice experience. I like too much. I have been just once. I hope this December I will have. I'm going to Paris again. And
hey, good for you.
Yeah. And
do you know that God created the most beautiful city on earth? He created Paris, and to compensate, he put the Parisians in there.
I love two cities in the world, Paris and Rome.
Oh, Rome is extraordinary.
Yeah. I like too much. So I think you are a musician of lean and you have too much experience. But if you have to take just three key messages that you want to deliver in Latam, the ones that are starting maybe the lean journey, the ones that are in the middle, and the ones that maybe have some experience. What would be that three messages that you want on people?
They are, again, think in terms of problems, and there are a number, always come back to there are problems we never know how to solve. The first problem is to put customers first. It's just so hard. We always want to put our processes first or our company first. Remember, solve the problem. What would customer first mean? The second problem is logistics. Before you look into operation and solve the logistical problem, understand logistics. This is what the just-in-time is about, understand logistics. The third problem is that for people to learn, they have to recognize their mistakes. They're adults, they're grown-ups, they won't learn in classes. They learn if they have a way to self-evaluate what they do. And if they're mental, of course. But the first thing is, how do you create self-evaluation for everybody? And finally, this only works if the logistics is important because you need to have a level load and capacity. If people are overworked, they can't learn. If people are not enough work, they're bored, they can't learn. So the logistics is where you will discover the workload. And so first, put customer first. Solve logistics to discover your workload problems. Get people to self-assess. And then finally get them to engage in improvement activities. So that's these four problems are never easy. So the trick is, how do you have the attitude that you will always, whatever the situation, no matter how complex it is, no matter what goes on, always go back to the game bell, go back and say, okay, where are we on these four problems? Where is the customer here? And where is the workload here? How can I see the workload? And then where is the, how do they know if they're doing good work or not good work? And then finally, are they engaged in any improvement activities? So the difficult thing is keeping that in mind. Because when you go, you know how it is, when you go to the workspace, when you go to the game bus, only, wow, you have all these arguments and everything, and you lose that. So if you want to do lean, you keep these four problems in mind at all time, and you force your mind to go back to that.
Yeah, and I want just to finish with the phrase that you put in your LinkedIn profile, because I think it's powerful. The question
What have I put in my LinkedIn profile?
you put the phrase that the question you made defines your reality.
Did
I
I?
think
Oh, okay. Well, it's true, but I believe it. I forgot about this. Yeah.
I was looking at your profile. Yeah.
A better question is, a better phrase for the LinkedIn profile is be happy with no reason.
Okay, perfect. Be happy for no reason.
For no reason.
Okay, so just to end this space, I'm working. I just want to say thank you again, Michael.
Well,
I
thank you,
learned a
Fabian.
lot. I think you have made, and I'm sure you will keep doing so much for the lean culture, the lean
Thank you very
thinking.
much. No, it's great. To be honest, it's great fun. It's always interesting. It's always different. It's always great fun. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So if you want to do this again, just you know where to find me. Thank you. Thank you
Perfect.
very much.
I will take that. I will take that. I will take that, but really, I like to learn from people that have made this.
I think it's very interesting for me. Maybe next time, if you ask people questions, and we can discuss the questions that people ask you. It's very interesting for me to hear what questions people ask.
Perfect. I will
I
collect.
love to see where they're coming from in different places. You're asking about how specific is South America. Well, I don't know, but I'd love to hear the questions they have because it shows you about what they're thinking. So I really love that.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
I will collect questions from Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Mexico, and Colombia.
Perfect. Let's do that.
So and maybe I will contact also the Lean Institute president here, just to make like a space between three.
Let's do it. Absolutely, with pleasure.
Perfect. So just have a great afternoon.
You too. Have a great day. It's morning for you, and take care. And thanks for this conversation.
This is the best way to start my morning today.
Enjoy your day.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.